Okay, just to preface this review, I was recommended this film by a follower of mine. They said the film would change my perception of Indian film, and being someone not that exposed to the genre itself, I was certainly interested. So I said, thanks man, I'll add it to the list and get to it when I can. Which could be a while, considering even watching and reviewing one movie a week is proving to be difficult for me with my schedule. But this person never let me forget to watch it, and they reminded me again, and again, and again, and again, pretty much on every video I posted up until today. So in honor of that unshakable persistence, I decided to sit down and watch Sardar Udham to see what the fuss is all about. Sardar Udham is a historical biography about Punjab revolutionary Udham Singh and his involvement in the assassination of Michael O'Dwyer, who avenged the lives lost in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre of 1919. Being an American raised in the American school system, I didn't have a clue about this moment of history. So whether or not the events portrayed here are true to the real life occurrences, I can't say for certain. But I'm not here to give you a history lesson, I'm here to tell you whether or not this is a good movie. And to that I say, yeah. This is a good movie. Pretty great, actually. It's a compelling narrative about standing against oppression and the lengths you'll go to achieve your freedom. The material is handled with an honest maturity that doesn't stand to overly dramatize its source by means of entertainment. There's quite a lot of care in crafting the narrative that allows the character of Udham Singh to feel fully realized and fleshed out, carrying an unshakable grief and anger that can't be contained despite the wishes of his contemporaries. The film is told in a fractured kind of way that constantly switches back and forth between Udham's life in India and his time in the UK. This non-linear style of storytelling lets director Shujit Sarkar pull from particular moments in Udham's life to juxtapose alongside later events. I find this to be a much more engaging form of storytelling that allows layers to gradually peel back rather than letting everything be revealed chronologically. It does make the timeline look a bit confusing every now and then, but I think the film does a decent enough job at discerning which period each scene is taking place in. Like I said, the bulk of the movie revolves around Udham's role in the assassination of Michael O'Dwyer, the one-time lieutenant governor of the British rules in Punjab, India. Every character feels like a real human being whose motives are filled with conflict and an unflinching belief in what they're doing is right. And while the film makes it very clear who you should be rooting for, it does lend itself to some interesting character parallels. Vicky Kaushal's portrayal of the Indian revolutionary is certainly harrowing, embodied by a any means necessary attitude that drives him to make drastic decisions his comrades hesitate to follow along with. Udham is strong-willed and unflinching in his mission, and once you finally get to see the moment that drove him down this path, you feel a complete understanding and sympathy for him. I do wish we had more relationship development with some of the other characters, as I feel like people like Eileen Palmer didn't really have the time to make a sizable impact on the story, despite the film being nearly 3 hours long. The length of the film is certainly daunting, but the film typically remains well-paced throughout, jumping between events and time periods to keep you engaged in the greater narrative. This style of storytelling can occasionally grind the actual progression of the main story to a halt, where we are being shown scenes we've already seen without really adding a different enough look or interpretation of these moments to justify this inclusion. This doesn't happen too often, but I did find it to be where the story slowed down the most. Lastly, I do want to touch on perhaps the most iconic scene from the film, which is an interpretation of the aforementioned massacre, which was a very, very hard watch. There's really nothing like this unflinching brutality in the film prior, so when this scene comes in near the tail end of the film, it gives you a bit of whiplash. Yet I cannot deny how viscerally effective it is, refraining from being gratuitous for the purpose of shock value, in my opinion. I think we dwell on the aftermath of it for a bit too long just because it kind of takes the wind out of the sails from the final act, yet I can also accept that this was done to sell the seemingly never-ending woe that spawned from this event. Like I said, it's a lot more graphic and unrelenting than you may expect, so just be prepared if you decide to give this a watch. Overall, I thoroughly enjoyed this. I think this was a great introduction into Indian film outside of the typical Bollywood films you would come to expect. It's well acted, well written, and presented in a harrowing, appropriate manner that taught me a little something about world history. The film is also a mix of Hindi and English, so it makes it slightly more approachable if you aren't too keen on foreign films. Even then, I would definitely recommend the film, and if you have any other international film suggestions, leave them down in the comments. And maybe in a year I can finally watch them. For my rating, I'm giving this film 4 sweet cakes out of 5, though it's closer to a 4.5 than a 3.5. Guys, thank you so much for making it to the end. If you enjoyed this review, be sure to leave a like and hit the subscribe button for more movie reviews and movie-themed cocktails. And be sure to check out my website, martinishot.blog. I know this is a bit of a different way to kick off the Halloween season, but rest assured, I definitely have some horror movie related content coming up, including a new movie review and cocktail that should be dropping this weekend. And I'm hoping to also sprinkle in some extra video content throughout the month, mostly just because I love this time of year. It gives me a great excuse to watch some of my favorite genre movies. And I can't wait to talk about more horror movies with you guys. So until then, thank you again for watching. I will see you in the next one. Live deliciously, but please remember to drink responsibly.